Welcome back to another explainer. We're jumping right into one of the absolute most incredible comeback stories in football history. We're talking about Paul Gascoigne, Gazza, a guy who possessed just this generational talent, but who was also battling some truly immense personal and physical demons. We're going to trace his dramatic career resurgence at Rangers Football Club in the mid-90s, and man, it's a wild journey from absolute despair to unforgettable triumph.
Okay, let's dive into this. Walter Smith saved my life. Gazza actually said that about the legendary Rangers manager. It's a heavy, profound statement, right? It goes way beyond just football. But to truly understand why he needed saving in the first place, and why this move was so monumental, we really have to look back at his darkest days. Section 1. The agony in Italy. So before he became this massive hero in Glasgow, Gascoigne was a footballing genius who had essentially become a physically and mentally broken asset during his time playing for Lazio and Rome.
And this brilliantly illustrates just how much trauma he went through. I mean, his time in Italy was honestly an absolute nightmare. His £5.5 million move to Lazio gets delayed in 1991 because he tears his ACL in the FA Cup final. Then, get this, 8 months into his recovery, he gets into a nightclub altercation and breaks his kneecap. When he finally gets to debut for Lazio in '92, he suffers yet another horrific freak injury in training. He basically kicks Alessandro Nesta's calf and ends up breaking his own tibia and fibula. This sheer volume of trauma literally cost him nearly 4 years of international football.
And beyond the broken bones, the mental toll was just devastating. You have to imagine Gazza totally isolated, spending countless lonely hours in the gym, just staring out the window while his teammates are out there training. By 1995, all this stress had taken such a harsh toll that he was a full stone underweight and battling bulimia. He was a deeply damaged player, so far away from that smiling superstar the world had fallen in love with. Section 2. The £4.3 million gamble. Now, while a lot of clubs looked at Gazza and just saw a broken, volatile asset, Rangers manager Walter Smith, well, he saw a solution.
Walter Smith was definitely not one to just wait around. In 1995, he unexpectedly flies straight to Rome, turns up at Gazza's villa, and delivers this incredibly straightforward pitch. "What are you doing here? I'm here to find out if you'd sign for Rangers." He offered this troubled midfielder a real escape route and a chance to play in the Champions League.
And in a moment that just perfectly captures Gazza's completely chaotic charm, he agrees to this life-changing transfer while sitting on a quad bike. Yeah, a quad bike. And then he probably tells Smith that he's actually off on holiday and just leaves his famous entourage, including his childhood friend Jimmy Five Bellies, to look after the Rangers manager for the evening. You literally can't make this stuff up.
So the transfer fee ends up being an astonishing £4.3 million. To put that into perspective, this was a Scottish record fee at the time. It was a massive, massive risk for Rangers and their chairman David Murray. They were spending millions on a player that many top clubs in England had completely dismissed as damaged goods. But here's the thing. The key to this gamble working was understanding what Gazza actually needed. When Walter Smith asked him what he was missing in football, Gazza simply said he just wanted to play with a smile on his face again. He definitely wasn't getting that in Italy, but Smith guaranteed that he would find that joy at Ibrox, and that promise right there is what sealed the deal.
Section 3. Trials and Controversies. Because, the road to resurgence is rarely smooth. Gazza's arrival in Scotland hit immediate physical and cultural hurdles. Right off the bat, disaster almost struck. They're at a crucial Champions League preliminary warm-up in Cyprus, and suddenly Gazza feels these horrific pains shooting through his groin and stomach. He was absolutely terrified. He was gripped by this intense panic that he was headed for what would be his 15th operation, and that his Rangers career was literally over before it even started. Thankfully, it turned out to be a minor issue and he recovered, but it really highlights the immense physical anxiety he was constantly carrying.
Then came the off-pitch issues. A pretty significant controversy occurred during a pre-season tour in Denmark, which very quickly exposed Gazza to the intense, deeply divided culture of Glasgow football.
Basically, while on tour, some fans urged him to do a specific gesture, and in a moment of completely naive mimicry, Gazza pretended to play a flute. He had absolutely no idea this was a reference to Protestant marching bands and a deeply offensive gesture to Celtic's Catholic supporters. As the sources note, the backlash was shocking. I mean, he received death threats and letters saying his throat would be slashed. It was a really terrifying wake-up call to the fierce tribalism of his new home. But for now, he just had to focus on the pitch.
Section 4. The Aberdeen Hat Trick. This brings us right to the climax of the 1995-96 season. where Gazza's magic truly re-emerged.
It's April 1996. The tension is palpable. Celtic are closing the gap, and Rangers desperately need a victory against Aberdeen at Ibrox to secure their 8th consecutive league title. The pressure was immense.
The match was incredibly tight. Rangers actually fell behind early before managing to equalize. With the game finely balanced and fans practically biting their nails off in the stands, Rangers defender Alan McLaren turns to a nervous Gascoigne on the pitch and makes this desperate plea. "Come on, Paul, just give us something."
Let's move to and see how this builds, because Gazza's response was immediate and totally explosive. Literally seconds after McLaren's plea, Gascoigne receives the ball. He turns, drives forward with that classic, half-forgotten swagger of his, and unleashes a tremendous, absolutely magical goal. But he wasn't done. Feeding off the completely electric, deafening noise of the Ibrox crowd, Gazza went on to complete a stunning, unbelievable hat-trick. Rangers won 3-1, securing their 8th consecutive league championship. It was the ultimate, triumphant climax to his comeback season. He proved without a doubt that his genius was very much alive. Section 5. A smile restored. Let's just slow down for a second and reflect on the completion of this hero's journey, because the turnaround is truly staggering. So, the crucial point is, this wasn't just some emotional, feel-good comeback. It was a statistically dominant one. Think about this. In his debut season, Gascoigne scored 19 goals in all competitions, drove his team to a league title, and was voted Player of the Year. He absolutely justified Walter Smith's multi-million-pound gamble in literally every measurable way.
Gazza summed it up perfectly himself with this quote. He said, "I just like to think I disappointed a few people and I made a lot of people happy." He knew there were doubters when he arrived, people who thought he was completely finished. But in Scotland, he found his joy again, and he shared that magic with thousands of fans who embraced him. Which leaves us with this pretty provocative thought to end on. Where would Paul Gascoigne's legacy be without Walter Smith and Rangers? If that single manager hadn't flown to Rome and shown total faith in a broken genius, we might never have seen Gazza smile on a football pitch quite like that again. Thanks for joining me on this explainer. I really hope you found this journey as fascinating as I did. See you next time.